Does anybody know when this was revealed? Now it is ayah of Tawheed. Most of the ayahs of Tawheed are revealed in which period? Meccan period. Now this ayah is in which surah? Baqarah. When was Surah Baqarah revealed? Madani, in Medina. So Aytal Kursi was revealed in Medina. Because it's ayah of Tawheed. La ilaha illallah. Now, everybody who's migrated from Makkah to Medina, leaving their families, leaving things, these are people of Tawheed. They accepted La ilaha illallah. They left Lat, Manat, Uzza, whatever, all those gods. These are people of Tawheed. They are in Medina. Then why is the greatest ayah of Tawheed being revealed in Medina? It's something to reflect on. What do you think? Yes, because La ilaha illallah is a cleansing agent. It cleanses, removes shirk. So the major shirk had already been abandoned of idol worship, external forms. But there were still internal issues. And among Medina were people, as our sister reminds us, who are called munafiq, who just proclaimed that they were Muslims, but inside they were still in a state of shirk. They denied. And Allah knows that. So Allah is sending a reminder for them that Allah knows, come to Tawheed. And also for the benefit of the believers, because we constantly need, one of the names of the Quran is a-dhikr, reminder, because insan by nature is forgetful. We know theoretically Allah is one, but then we get impressed by this, by money, by power, by this person's achievement, by that, and so on and so forth, right? Constant reminder, Tawheed. And that's why the Sahaba sometimes, they used to meet each other. They said, let's go and sit together and renew our Iman. Did they need renewal of Iman? They thought so. And how did they do it? By talking about Allah of His Tawheed, which is like reciting these ayats. Now if they needed renewal of Iman, in that environment, in Medina, what do you think of us living in this environment? How much reminder we need? Dr. Saad is smiling over there. How much reminder do we need? So, constantly. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Everybody can recite together. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. I'm sure the majority of you already know this, have memorized it. Those who haven't should make it mandatory on themselves that as soon as possible they do that, because otherwise you will be deprived of the greatest of Allah's ayah. So a quick translation of this, the ayah starts like Allah La ilaha illa huwa. There is no deity, there is no one worthy, and none has the right to be worshipped, illahu, but He. Al-Hayy, the ever-living, Al-Qayyum, the one who sustains everything, the all-sustaining. Neither drowsiness, nor slumber, nor sleep can overtake Him. Lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. To Him alone belongs everything, whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on earth. Man dha alladhi yashfa'u indahu illa bi'idhnih. Who is He that can possibly intercede with Him except with His permission? يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ. He knows what is ahead of them, between their hands, and what is behind them. What happens to them, what has happened to them, what will happen to them in the hereafter. And they will never encompass anything of His knowledge. They know nothing except that which He chooses and wills to reveal to them. His kursi, we'll talk about that. For now we'll call it His footstool, His kursi, extends over the heavens and the earth, and He feels no fatigue or tiredness in guarding, preserving and sustaining it. And He is Al-Ali, the most exalted, the most high, Al-Azim, the great, magnificent, the tremendous. So this is in brief the meaning of this. And as we said, there are 16 mentions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 5 by His name and 11 by pronouns. Now if you break this ayah down, there are 10 statements, 10 declarations, 10 announcements that Allah has made about Himself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have started the surah by saying, La ilaha illahu. There is no God, or La ilaha illallah. There is no deity, no one worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But He doesn't do that. Allah starts the ayah by saying what? Allah. Do you feel it? How does it start? Allah. And if you truly feel Allah, everything else disappears. There is no existence, there is no creation, there is no being. Allah. So Allah puts His name above, that everything that follows depends on Allah. It's because of Allah, because of His will. So a few reminders about the name Allah, that this is the unique name of Allah, one of the unique names of Allah. It is called Lafzul Jalala. Some people say it is derived like Al-Ilah. Some said no, it's an underived, and there's scholars have given different opinions on it. But by starting with, as I said, by Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala negates everything else, that nothing existed before Him. Okay? There is nothing after and beside Him. Therefore, Allah starts with that. And everything else owes its existence to Him. Everything starts with Him by His will, by His command of kun. Everything depends on Him for its sustenance, for being there. He is Al-Qayyum. He sustains everything. And it will remain in existence till He wills, and then it will end by His will. And therefore, it tells us that everything, if we look in the haqiqah, the reality, everything is meaningless and insignificant. Allah is the only true reality, because everything else didn't exist, came into existence, and one day will cease to exist. Therefore, the true reality is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This name Allah in the Quran appears 2,699 times, almost 2,700 times. And Ilah is 147 times. And Allahumma 5 times in the Quran. Allahumma, when we call it. Now, as we said, by this grammatical arrangement, putting Allah as what's called mubtada, starting of the sentence, also then takes this name and you can transpose it into every of the other 10 parts that comes. First one, Allah, who la ilaha illa huwa. Allahu al-hayyu al-qayyum. Allahu la ta'khuduhu sinatun. So you put Allah in front of every one of them. Okay, that's what it is. So this is one way of specifying. When you put it in front, it specifies that only Allah has what comes after it. He is the exclusive owner of that trait that comes. After that comes the khabar. Okay. Now the word ilah, Allahu, Allah, la ilaha illa huwa. There is no ilah except him, pronoun huwa. That's for Allah. That huwa goes back to Allah. What is the meaning of ilah? Ilah is derived from the roots of alaha, yalahu, which means someone that is worshipped, an object of worship. So one translation is, there is no one worthy of worship. But there's another, that meaning of this is, who does not worship Allah has not experienced worship at all. Okay. It's just a name, worship. That only the worship of Allah is worship. Everything else is a joke, is a fake. And aliha, another root, is something in which you find peace and contentment and protection and safety. That there is no one in whom you can find peace, contentment, other than who? Allah. Another meaning is alaha, that root, which means to be in awe, in astonishment, to be astounded. That you have the haiba of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, your heart trembles, as Allah says, by His mention, the hearts, wajilat qulubuhum, they shiver, and the hair stand, just when you get, fear and awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some have said that the origin of the word, the three roots is waliha, which means love. That means the object of desire and love. That there is no one that is worthy of being loved or sought for other than Allah. So these are all embedded in the word ilah. The word ilah has multiple facets, meaning the one who is the only one to be worshipped, the only one where you can find peace and contentment, the only one you would turn for in your desperate times, the only one who should be the object of your intense desire and seeking and love. So, it's not just there is no deity, no God as it's translated. It is much deeper than that. So this is something we should reflect on. Next, second portion, Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum. Allahu Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum. So after negating everything else, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala establishes, He says, you want to know who I am? I am Al-Hayy. What does Al-Hayy means? Al-Hayyu, this is an attribute of a living, an ever-living God. He's not absent. He is ever-living, eternal. Means no beginning, no end. Everything else that we know, the universe had a beginning and will have an end. Everything else besides Allah has a beginning and end. The Kursi had a beginning. The Arsh had a beginning. The Qalam had a beginning. The Lawh had a beginning. Allah created them. Okay. So Al-Hayy, He is without beginning or end, never subject to death because He is ever living. He is the eternal. Therefore, the only true living. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put al before it to specify it, that ever living is, al means the. He said the ever living. Means the only one who is ever living. The only one who is perfect in his life and living. And why is that important? Because how can you worship something that doesn't have life? Right? A stone. It's a piece of stone. How do you worship that? A piece of wood. Anything else. Or how do you worship someone who you know is going to die? So Allah is establishing that you should have some standards of who you worship. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes Himself, the alive, the living, and also the source of life. That everything gets its life, comes into being and lives because of Al-Hayy. Al-Qayyum. Qa'im means to stand. Who allows everything to be standing. Standing means to exist. Qayyum is the superlative. Sighatul Mubalagha. the superlative form of one who sustains, who makes people stand, people exist. So Allah is the one who takes care of, He provides, He maintains everything that exists. So what is my relationship with Him? I don't exist without Al-Qayyum. I don't come into being as a living being without Al-Hayy. My beginning belongs to Him. My existence belongs to Him. My death belongs to Him. Everything of mine belongs to Him. Even though I say, this is mine. This is my house. And we'll come to that soon. So, Al-Qayyum. Now, the closest thing to this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran uses the word Qawwamuna. Ar-Rijalu Qawwamuna al-Nisa. Qawwamuna, those who sustain, protect. Men have been designated as those who protect and provide and sustain the women and their families. Okay, that's the closest we have. But Qayyum is a different structure because Allah cannot be compared to a man who sustains his family. Who can only sustain and provide and protect someone who's alive. Therefore, Hayy goes along with that. Someone who is always watching, because every moment we have a need for something, right? So Allah is not someone who just created and left things on autopilot. Allah is involved. And many times we think, 7 billion people, well, Allah doesn't know. I'm making dua, what's going on. Allah listens to everyone. There is no sensory overload with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 7 billion, 8 billion people calling, 5,000 different languages, different time zones, different this. Allah responds to each one. Because each of His names is at a divine dimension. So when we say He sustains, it is not comparable to a human being doing something. Some of the attributes of Allah, like Rahmah. We have Rahmah and Allah has Rahmah. Right? We protect and Allah protects. We have Sabr, Allah has Sabr. But only the names are the same because we are at a human level. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is divine. Infinite and perfect in every attribute. So, is there anyone who is ever living or able to maintain all and every creation in the seen and unseen world, in the known and unknown, near, far, past, present, future? No, except Allah. So 2 attributes of Allah that describe all of those. And you can reflect on that. In the interest of time, we will continue. Next, the third portion is La ta'khuduhu sinatun wala nawm. Again, you can transpose the word Allah. Allah, La ta'khuduhu. Sina means drowsiness. Sometimes you're driving, momentarily you're not falling asleep, but you're unaware where you went. Or you're sitting with people and you go blank. Momentary lapse in your consciousness. And then there is higher level of sina, like, you're doing this when you're nodding off. And then there is, I'm seeing some sina around. And then there is sleep. So when a person is snoring, that is naum. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, neither drowsiness, approach Him, they cannot grab Him, they cannot take Him, they cannot even come close to Him. Neither drowsiness, no momentary lapse of awareness, nor sleep. And here He says sina in indefinite, nakira. He doesn't say as-sina, unknown, which means in any capacity, it's open. Even the slightest amount of drowsiness cannot come to Him. Even the slightest amount of sleep cannot approach Him. And there is a narration about Musa alayhi salam. That one time Musa alayhi salam said, Ya Allah, something to the effect, do you get drowsy or sleepy or something? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded by, He told him, O Musa, take 2 jars of glass and you stand like this and don't fall asleep. And Musa alayhi salam did that for a long time, and then there would be moments where sinna would overcome him, drowsiness, so he would do. Then he would wake up and be sure. And then ultimately, he got so drowsy that it dropped out of his hand and broke. He said, Ya Musa, if sinna or norm were to approach me, do you think this universe could continue? In other words, it cannot be. And this is different than the Judeo-Christian beliefs, because if you know what they said in Genesis, what does it say?
Rested.
Allah created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and then He rested. What does that imply? Fatigue. Sinner. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, neither sleep nor drowsiness. And the way it is, sinatun wala naum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say wa naum, because you will say drowsiness and sleep do not approach him, in other words, together. But maybe individually they can say. Not sinna, wala naum. Neither of them separately, individually, nor together. In other words, no possibility of anything like that. And here, again, we have to remember what happens even when we are driving and we know we have to be awake. When we're doing something important and we are nodding off, it tells us about our humanity. And then it makes us understand who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the next one, Lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. Again, you can transpose Allah. Lahu, to him. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started this again by putting himself first. To him. La, this is lam of tamlik, nam of ownership. That he is the malik. Allah, to him belong ma. Ma means anything that you can imagine, that you can't imagine, that exists, that you know of, that you don't know. In the seen world, unseen world, ma is open. Everything besides Allah. Whatever is, fis samawat, in the heavens. And how many heavens do we have? Samawat? 7 heavens. And we'll talk, if we have time, about the dimensions of those heavens. Lahu, to him alone, by putting himself first, he says, belongs everything in the heavens. Wama fil ard. And everything on earth. Now if you look at it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have said that everything in the heavens belongs to Allah, and that would be adequate. Why? Because the earth is a speck of dust in the first samawat, in the first heavens. All the planets and galaxies that we know, the zillions of galaxies and trillions and zillions of stars, and they're all in the first heaven. They're not even in the second or third. This is just first heaven. And in that universe, the size of the earth is less than a speck of sand in the beaches of all the world. So it would be sufficient. Yet Allah specifies, وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decorated this earth, honored it for His best creation, human beings. So He's reminding us that everything belongs to Him, and everything that you fight over, that you witness on your planet, on the home that I have given you, also belongs to Him. To Him alone. Every single thing that exists on the earth, that is what we call macroscopic, microscopic, atomic, subatomic, we used to go from neutrons to now we are neutrinos, and whatever is smaller than that, photons, everything from that level till the greatest, the biggest of Allah's creation is what? Quickly. What is the biggest of Allah's creation? Greatest, biggest.
The whale.
Allah's arsh. Because all of the universe that we know of, this is first heaven. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us from his journey that all that you know, this And what is the size that we know? It's like 14.6 billion light years across. Known universe. If you take all the known universe, first heaven, compare it to the second heaven, he compared it. The size of this is like that of a halaq, a ring. Take a ring, like a wedding band, and you throw it in the middle of the Sahara Desert, open desert. How big is it in compared to the desert? This universe that is so huge is compared to the second heaven is that size. And he said the second heaven to the third is like a ring in the desert. And each one. And then he said all of those compared to the kursi are like a ring thrown in an open desert. And he said the kursi that we are talking about compared to the arsh is like a ring thrown in an open desert. And above the arsh is Rabbul Arshil Azim. So this gives you an idea of perspective of size. So the greatest, the biggest of Allah's creation is the arsh. So from the smallest particle to the largest, what is above, what is below, what is known, what is unknown, seen, unseen, what was, what is, what will be, everything belongs to Lahu, to Him alone.